There comes a moment in every life when the noise fades, the lights dim, and you finally hear that quiet voice inside, the voice of God calling your name. Have you ever felt it? That still, sacred moment when you realize there must be more than work, more than wealth, more than the endless cycle of rushing and worrying. That moment doesn't come with fanfare. It comes in silence. It comes when the world around you goes dark enough for the light within you to be seen. That's where true motivation begins, not in ambition, not in competition, but in awakening, in realizing that the breath in your lungs is not an accident, that your life carries divine design. You see, my friend, God did not put you here by mistake. You are not a random piece of dust floating through the universe. You are crafted. You are called. You are chosen for a reason greater than your fears, greater than your failures, greater even than your dreams. Every one of us lives between two voices. One says you can't. The other says, with me you can. And between those two voices, a battle rages every day. The battle between faith and fear, purpose and passivity, calling and comfort. The truth is, the greatest enemy most people face isn't out there. It's in here. It's the whisper that says, you're not enough. It's the echo of failure that tells you your best days are behind you. But God's message has always been different. Behold, I make all things new. When you feel like giving up, remember, even the darkest night ends with a sunrise. You cannot let your pain define your purpose. Pain is a teacher, failure is a message, and sometimes the very thing that broke you was meant to build you into who you were always meant to become. There is power in waking up, not just from sleep, but from spiritual slumber. When your heart opens to the truth of who you are and whose you are, everything changes. You stop asking, what do I want? And you start asking, why am I here? You stop chasing after things that fade, applause, validation, temporary pleasure, and you start walking toward the eternal, the meaningful, the divine. Billy Graham once said, when you come to the end of yourself, that's when you come to the beginning of God. And oh, how true that is. Many of us spend years running from pain, from truth, from surrender. But the moment we stop running, the moment we turn around, we realize he was running toward us all along. Look around this world today. So much noise, so much distraction, so much fear. People chasing after things that will never satisfy the soul. But deep inside, every human heart is crying for the same thing: meaning. We all want to know that our lives matter, that our struggles have purpose, that our love leaves a mark. And here's the beautiful truth. You already have what it takes to make a difference. God has placed in you a spark, the fire within. It may be buried under disappointment, under doubt, under the mistakes of your past, but it's still there, waiting for you to believe again. Maybe you've failed before, maybe you've fallen, but that doesn't disqualify you. It defines you. The scar you carry is proof you survived. It's a reminder that grace is greater than guilt, and hope is stronger than fear. So what now? What does awakening look like? It begins with one choice: to listen, to slow down long enough to hear that whisper in your spirit. It's not a shout. It's not thunder. It's a quiet, gentle voice saying, come home. Come home to your purpose. Come home to your faith. Come home to the life you were born to live. You've spent enough time in the shadows of what others think you should be. It's time to walk into the light of who you truly are: a child of God, a vessel of hope, a testimony in progress. My friend, if you remember one thing today, let it be this: you are not too far gone. You are not too late. You are not too broken to begin again, because every sunrise is a message, a reminder that God still believes in you. The question is, do you believe in him? Will you let him awaken the fire within you? Because when you do, the world will never be the same again. Before any battle is fought in the world, it is first fought in the mind, and the mind is where destinies are won or lost. You see, every great victory or defeat in human history began not with weapons or armies, but with thoughts. The battlefield of life isn't out there, it's in here. Inside your mind lies the quiet war between faith and fear, between belief and doubt, between truth and the lies you tell yourself. The enemy doesn't need to destroy your body to defeat you. All he has to do is poison your thinking. If he can convince you that you are worthless, you will stop trying. If he can make you believe that you've failed too many times, you will give up before the miracle comes. But God says otherwise. He says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That renewal, that transformation, begins the moment you decide to stop believing the lies. How many times have you said to yourself, "I'm not good enough. It's too late for me. I'll never change"? These are not just words. They are chains. Every time you repeat them, you tighten the lock around your own soul. But here's the truth. What you feed your mind becomes the master of your life. If you feed it fear, you'll live in anxiety. If you feed it doubt, you'll live in hesitation. But if you feed it faith, hope, and truth, you'll rise above everything trying to hold you down. The greatest prison in the world isn't made of walls, it's made of thoughts. And the key has been in your hand all along. When you allow God to touch your mind, you begin to see differently. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as victorious. You stop seeing obstacles and start seeing opportunities. Because when your perspective changes, your life changes. The Apostle Paul wrote, "Take every thought captive." Why? Because thoughts shape belief, belief shapes action, and action shapes destiny. The devil doesn't have to steal your blessings. He only needs to make you doubt that you deserve them. But when your mind is anchored in faith, no storm can shake you. Let this sink in deeply. You are what you believe. If you believe you're broken, you'll live like it. If you believe you're chosen, you'll walk like it. You don't become strong when life gets easy. You become strong when your mind refuses to quit. Your mind has gates. What you see, what you hear, what you speak. What you allow through those gates determines what grows inside you. Today's world is full of noise, fear on the news, anger on social media, comparison on every screen. You scroll, you absorb, and you wonder why your peace feels stolen. Because whatever you allow in, eventually comes out. Guard your gates. Be careful what you feed your soul. If the words you listen to don't lift you, they're draining you. If the people you follow don't inspire you, they're infecting you. The mind was created to be a temple, not a trash can. And God cannot dwell in a mind filled with chaos. So today, cleanse it. Replace anxiety with prayer. Replace worry with worship. Replace criticism with gratitude. There's a story in the Bible, Elijah alone in the cave hiding in fear. He wanted to give up. He said, "Lord, I've had enough." But then something powerful happened. The scripture says, "A great wind tore through the mountains, but the Lord was not in the wind. Then came an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. Then came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a still small voice." That's where truth speaks. Not in the noise, but in the stillness. That's where your healing begins. Not in distraction, but in surrender. You may be fighting a war in your mind right now. A war between the voice that says you can't and the whisper that says, "With me, you can." Choose the whisper. Choose the still small voice. Because that's the voice that brings peace. You cannot control every thought that enters your mind, but you can control which ones you let stay. When a thought of fear comes, challenge it with faith. When a thought of failure comes, confront it with truth. When a thought of hopelessness whispers in the dark, shine the light of God's promise on it. Victory begins not when the storm ends, but when your faith stands firm in the middle of it. The war for your mind will not end overnight, but every time you choose faith over fear, truth over lies, light over darkness, you win a battle. You become stronger, wiser, unshakable. So, my friend, guard your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Your thoughts are seeds. Your faith is the soil. Your destiny is the harvest. Don't let the weeds of doubt choke your purpose. Don't let the shadows of your past darken the light of your future. Lift your head, renew your mind. And remember, the same God who created the stars also created your thoughts, to dream, to hope, to believe. Because when your mind is renewed, your whole life follows. That's where the true transformation begins. That's where the war is won. Every promise from God comes with a wilderness, a place where your faith is tested, your strength is forged, and your heart learns to trust what it cannot yet see. There is no victory without a valley, no crown without a cross, no promised land without the desert that comes before it. Every great soul, every person who has walked with God, has walked through a wilderness, a season of silence, of uncertainty, of waiting. And maybe that's where you are right now. You've prayed, you've believed, you've waited and waited, but heaven seems quiet. My friend, don't mistake silence for absence. God is not gone, He is growing you. You see, the wilderness is not punishment, it is preparation. Before David became king, he hid in caves. Before Moses led a nation, he wandered for 40 years. Before Jesus began his ministry, he spent 40 days in the desert, hungry, tempted, alone. Why? Because destiny demands depth, and depth is built in isolation. The wilderness strips away what is temporary, so only the eternal remains. It removes the noise of the world so you can finally hear the whisper of God. When everything else is gone, the applause, the comfort, the control, you discover that He is still enough. So if you find yourself in the wilderness, don't curse it. Don't run from it. Because what feels like delay may actually be divine design. When you feel forgotten, there's a certain pain that comes not from failure, but from waiting. The feeling that God has forgotten you. The job doesn't come. The healing doesn't happen. The prayer seems unanswered. You look around and wonder, Lord, where are you? But remember this truth, God's silence is not His absence. He may be quiet, but He is not still. He is working behind the scenes, aligning every detail, preparing you for what He promised. The Israelites thought the wilderness was a dead end, but it was a classroom, a place to learn trust, humility, and dependence. Sometimes God removes comfort not to harm you, but to heal you. Because when you have nothing left to hold on to, you finally learn to hold on to Him. Every promise requires a test. Before you can walk in the promise, you must be proven in the process. Think about it. Gold is not pure until it's been through the fire. Faith is not strong until it's been through the storm. And character is not real until it's been tested in secret. The wilderness tests your heart, not to expose weakness, but to reveal strength you didn't know you had. It asks the question, will you still trust God when the blessing is delayed? Will you still believe when the miracle hasn't come? Will you still worship when the feeling is gone? Because real faith doesn't need proof. Real faith stands when everything else falls. You see, seeds grow in the dark. Before a tree touches the sky, its roots go deep into unseen soil. That's what the wilderness does. It grows your roots. It teaches you how to stand firm when the winds blow. It prepares you to carry the weight of the promise that's coming. The waiting is not wasted. Every prayer you've whispered, every tear you've cried, every night you've questioned, they are all being collected in heaven. And one day you will look back and say, now I understand. Because the same God who led you into the wilderness will lead you out, not empty, but equipped. Not bitter, but better. Not lost, but renewed. Even in the wilderness, God speaks. He doesn't always speak in thunder or miracles. Sometimes He speaks through small moments of mercy. A sunrise that gives you hope. A word that strengthens your heart. A stranger's kindness that reminds you He still sees you. The Israelites had manna, food from heaven, just enough for each day. Not too much, not too little. That's how grace works. You may not have everything you want, but you will always have what you need. And that's enough. God's timing is not delayed, and it's deliberate. He knows when you're ready. And when the time comes, no force in hell can stop what He has ordained. Here's what I've learned. In the wilderness, you lose what you never needed, and you find what you can't live without. You lose pride, but you gain purpose. You lose comfort, but you gain conviction. You lose your plan, but you find His. And in that sacred exchange, you realize something extraordinary. that the wilderness was not meant to destroy you, but to define you. It was the bridge between who you were and who you were born to be. So hold on, even if you don't understand it, even if the road feels long, because the wilderness always ends, and the promise always comes. My friend, if you are in the wilderness today, lift your eyes. Don't give up. Don't give in. This is not where your story ends. It's where your strength begins. You may feel lost, but you are being led. You may feel broken, but you are being built. You may feel delayed, but you are not denied. For every desert, there is a destiny. For every test, there is a testimony. And for every wilderness, there is a promise waiting on the other side. Hold on to that, because your promised land is closer than you think. Sometimes God must break what is comfortable to build what is eternal. Because a heart that has never been broken can never truly be whole. There are moments in life when the pain feels unbearable, when you lose what you thought you could never live without, when your prayers seem to echo unanswered, when your heart cracks open and you ask, God, why would you let this happen? I want to tell you something sacred, something most people only learn through tears. Brokenness is not the end of you. It's the beginning of God in you, because there are things that only pain can teach. There are lessons that only heartbreak can reveal. And sometimes before God can bless you, He must first break you, not to destroy, but to rebuild you stronger, purer, and closer to Him. Think of the seed. Before it grows, it must first be buried in darkness and broken open. The shell that once protected it must split apart so that new life can rise. That's how your soul grows. That's how faith becomes real. Every broken place in your life is an entry point for grace. And though the world tells you to hide your scars, God says, show them. Because your scars are proof that you survived what was meant to destroy you, and that you didn't do it alone. When you break, heaven bends low. When you cry, He counts every tear. And when you think it's over, He whispers, I'm just getting started. There comes a time when God will remove the very thing you thought you couldn't live without. A relationship, a job, a dream. And when that happens, we panic, we plead. We say, Lord, I needed that. But God knows what you don't. He knows what could have destroyed you. He knows what was holding you back. Sometimes He takes away the lesser so He can give you the greater. He closes doors not to punish you, but to protect you. He ends certain chapters because the story He's writing next requires a different version of you. When Jacob wrestled with God, he was wounded in the process. He walked with a limp for the rest of his life. But it was that limp that reminded him he had seen God face to face and lived. He was broken, but blessed. Every person of faith reaches a moment, a breaking point, where your strength ends and your surrender begins. You've done all you can. You've prayed every prayer, and still the door remains closed. That's when God says, now let me work. Because as long as you think you can fix it, He'll let you try. But when you finally fall to your knees, when your pride dies and your tears fall freely, heaven moves. The moment you surrender control is the moment God begins to create something new. It's in the breaking that you find your true strength. Not the strength to fight, but the strength to trust. Have you ever noticed how fire purifies gold? It burns away everything that's not pure, leaving only what's eternal. That's what happens when God allows you to go through the fire. He's not burning you, He's refining you. The pain that broke you will one day become the story that heals others. The wound you carry today will be the wisdom you share tomorrow. Because beauty doesn't come from perfection, it comes from redemption. You may not see it now, but every shattered piece of your story is being used to form something breathtaking. God doesn't waste pain. He recycles it into purpose. Jeremiah once visited a potter's house. He saw the craftsman shaping clay on the wheel. And when the clay became marred in the potter's hands, the craftsman didn't throw it away. He started over. He reshaped it. He made it new. And God said, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand. Sometimes He allows the breaking because He sees a flaw in the design, something that needs to be reshaped. You may see yourself as broken beyond repair, but in His hands you're not discarded clay. You're a masterpiece in progress. He's not done with you. He's just beginning again. There will come a day when the tears dry, when the ache becomes a memory, when you realize that what you lost made room for what you needed. That's the power of divine breaking. It never leaves you empty. It replaces what's shallow with what's sacred. It replaces what's temporary with what's timeless. You'll look back and say, I thought God was breaking me, but he was actually blessing me. Because only after the storm do you see how strong your roots have become. If you are in that place right now, the place where everything hurts, where nothing makes sense, hear me clearly, you are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not falling apart. You are being remade. The pain you feel is not the end of the story. It's the sound of new life being born inside you. So don't despise the breaking. Don't fear the fire, because the God who allows the breaking is the same God who brings the blessing. And when the light finally shines through those cracks in your soul, the world will see what you've become, a living testimony that even broken things can still shine. We live in a world that worships control. Control your time. Control your image. Control your destiny. But the truth, my friend, is that the more you try to control everything, the more life slips through your fingers. You can't control the storm, but you can choose where to anchor your soul. And sometimes the greatest act of faith isn't to hold on tighter. It's to finally let go. Surrender doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've realized that you were never meant to carry everything alone. It means you've come to the sacred understanding that God's plan is better than yours. Even when it hurts, even when it's hard, even when it makes no sense. Maybe you've been praying for something for years. A dream, a relationship, a breakthrough. And you keep saying, Lord, I'm trusting you, but deep down, you're still gripping it with both hands. You're afraid that if you release it, you'll lose it forever. But here's the truth. What's meant for you cannot be taken from you. And what's not meant for you will never satisfy you. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to God's timing, His wisdom, His way. Because what He has planned is far greater than what you're trying to hold together. We often act as if we're in charge, as if our plans determine our purpose. But look around. The world keeps spinning, the seasons keep changing, and your heart keeps beating. Not because you control them, but because God sustains them. You breathe His air. You live in His grace. And yet we try to plan every detail, manipulate every outcome, and then wonder why we're exhausted. You can't play God and find peace at the same time. Peace begins where control ends, because control is rooted in fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of the unknown. But faith rests in trust. The Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." Not be busy, not be anxious, be still. That's the posture of surrender. Stillness that says, Lord, I don't know the way forward, but I trust you do. Have you ever noticed that when you finally stop trying to force things, life starts to move again? That's not coincidence, that's divine alignment. Because surrender unlocks what striving cannot. God cannot bless what you keep clenched in your fists. But the moment you open your hands, He can place in them something better. Think about Abraham and told to sacrifice Isaac, the son of promise. It made no sense. And yet in his obedience, in his surrender, came the revelation. The Lord will provide. It was in letting go that Abraham discovered God's faithfulness. When you surrender, you don't lose, you trade. You trade fear for peace. You trade confusion for clarity. You trade your limited plan for His limitless promise. When you finally surrender, something miraculous happens. You begin to breathe again. The weight you've been carrying starts to lift. Because control is heavy, but trust is light. You stop living in panic and start living in purpose. You stop asking, why me? And start saying, use me. You stop trying to fix everything and start allowing God to form you through it. That's when freedom enters. Not the freedom of having everything go your way, but the freedom of knowing that no matter what happens, you are safe in His hands. There will be seasons when surrender means walking through darkness without a map. You won't see what's ahead and you'll be tempted to turn back. But faith doesn't demand understanding. It demands trust. God never promised to show you every step, only the next one. He says, my grace is sufficient. That means you'll have enough for today, not tomorrow, not next week, just today, so keep walking. Keep believing, keep releasing, because the same God who brought you this far will not abandon you now. He's not asking you to understand the journey. He's asking you to trust the guide. The greatest example of surrender is the cross. Jesus in the garden prayed, Father, not my will, but yours be done. That single moment of surrender changed the course of eternity. He didn't surrender because he was weak. He surrendered because he was strong enough to trust the Father's plan. And if he, the Son of God, could lay down his will, how much more can we? Surrender is not defeat, it's divine exchange. It's where death turns into resurrection, where pain turns into power, and where fear turns into freedom. Maybe you're standing at a crossroads right now. One path is filled with fear and control. The other leads to faith and surrender. You can't walk both. You must choose. And if you choose surrender, if you truly release your plans, your fears, your timeline, you'll find something the world can't give and can't take away: peace. Because when your life rests in God's hands, no storm can destroy it. No delay can deny it. No failure can define it, so open your hands. Whisper the words that change everything. Lord, I trust you, even when I don't understand you. Pain is something every human being understands. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, how strong or successful you seem, pain finds everyone. The question is not if you'll face it, but what you'll do with it. Most people run from pain. They hide it, numb it, bury it deep, pretending it never happened. But God doesn't work that way. He takes what the world throws away and turns it into something sacred. When he looks at your pain, he doesn't see weakness, and he sees potential. He sees a story that can heal, a scar that can speak, a wound that can awaken compassion in someone else. Because in the hands of God, even the things that tried to destroy you can become the very things that define you. We ask, why God? Why me? Why now? But sometimes heaven answers not with explanation, but with transformation. You may never understand the why, but you will one day understand the how. How that heartbreak softened your heart, how that loss opened your eyes, how that disappointment drove you to your knees where you finally met grace. Pain is not pleasant, but it is powerful. It's the fire that forges character. It's the storm that drives you to shelter. And it's often in the darkest seasons that your greatest calling is conceived. Your scars tell a story the world needs to hear. Each one is a testimony of survival, a reminder that grace met you where strength failed. Don't hide your wounds. Let them speak. Because someone right now is walking through the very storm you survived. They need to know it's possible to make it through. They need to see your faith, your healing, your resilience. What once was your breaking point becomes your bridge, a bridge that leads others out of their pain and into purpose. The Bible says, "We comfort others with the same comfort we have received." That means every tear you've cried becomes a tool in the hand of God. He turns your sorrow into empathy, your weakness into wisdom, your suffering into service. There comes a sacred moment when your question changes. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "Lord, how can you use this through me?" That's where transformation begins. That's where the ashes turn into beauty. When you let your pain become a platform for His glory, what once was a curse becomes a calling. Think about Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, forgotten in prison. Years later, standing in the palace, he looked at the same brothers who sold him and said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That's redemption. That's divine purpose. The pit was painful, but the palace had a purpose. And Joseph's story reminds us, no suffering is wasted when God holds the pen. There's a story told of a silversmith who was asked how he knows when the silver is pure. He said, "When I can see my reflection in it." That's how God uses pain. He allows the fire not to destroy you, but to refine you until He can see His image in your heart. The fire burns away pride. It melts away self-reliance. It purifies motives and sharpens purpose. And when you come out of the fire, you don't come out the same. You come out humble, compassionate, and unshakable. You come out knowing that what once hurt you has now healed you. When God turns your pain into purpose, He doesn't erase the memory. He redeems it. The memory remains, but the sting fades. The tears dry, but the lessons stay. And every time you look back, you see not the wound, but the wisdom that grew from it. It's why survivors become leaders. It's why broken hearts often love the deepest. Because those who have walked through pain know how to walk with people who are hurting. Pain changes your perspective. You stop chasing what doesn't matter. You start cherishing what does. You realize that the most beautiful lives are not the ones without scars, but the ones where grace has turned those scars into light. When you rise from your pain, you don't rise alone. Every person who sees your comeback finds hope for their own. Your healing becomes contagious. Your faith becomes an invitation. That's how revival begins, and one healed heart at a time. Because when you testify of what God has done for you, It awakens faith in others. And what once broke you becomes the reason someone else begins to believe again. Never underestimate the impact of your survival. Someone is watching your life right now, waiting to see if faith is real. Show them that it is. Show them that even through tears, even through loss, even through pain, God is still good. My friend, you may be walking through a season of deep pain right now. Maybe it feels endless. Maybe it feels unfair. But I want you to hear this clearly. God will not waste a single tear. He will use your pain to shape you, to strengthen you, to send you. The wound you carry today may be the very place His glory shines tomorrow. So don't curse your story. Surrender it. Don't hide your scars. Let them speak. Because someone's freedom might be waiting on your testimony. And one day when you look back, you'll see it. That every hurt, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer was not the end of you, but the beginning of something divine. Because when God turns your pain into purpose, nothing in your past is wasted, and everything in your future is redeemed. Look around you. The world is filled with people breathing but not living, running but not arriving, achieving but not fulfilled. They wake up every morning and go through the motions, but their hearts are asleep. They've forgotten why they're here. But you, my friend, are different. You were not created by accident. You were not placed on this earth by chance. You were born with divine intention, handcrafted by the Creator for a reason that only you can fulfill. There's a calling on your life that no one else can carry, a light within you that no darkness can extinguish. And it's time to rise, time to shine, time to live the life you were born for. The Bible says, "Awake, O sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." That's not talking about physical sleep, it's talking about spiritual awakening, because many are alive on the outside, but lifeless on the inside. They've lost their wonder, their fire, their faith. But God is calling you to wake up again, to dream again, to believe again, to love again. He's saying, you've wandered long enough. You've doubted long enough. It's time to remember who you are, my child, my creation, my light in the darkness. The enemy wants you to think your life doesn't matter, that you're too broken, too old, too late, too far gone, but that's a lie. Because when God made you, He made you with eternal fingerprints. There's something divine in your design. You carry within you a piece of heaven's blueprint. You are not random. You are not replaceable. You are remarkable. You are living proof that God still believes the world is worth saving, because He sent you into it. So stop measuring your worth by what the world says you should be. Start walking in what God already says you are, chosen, loved, and called for a purpose. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It just shines, and when the darkness disappears, that's your power. You don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to be famous to be faithful. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful, just shine. Shine through your kindness. Shine through your forgiveness. Shine through your resilience when life tries to break you. Every act of love, every word of hope, every prayer whispered in faith, it all matters. The smallest candle still pushes back the night. Never underestimate the power of one soul fully alive in God. Too many people die with their music still inside them. They were born to write, to teach, to build, to serve, to love, but fear buried their gift. Don't let that be you. Whatever God placed in your hands, use it. If He gave you a voice, speak truth. If He gave you compassion, heal hearts. If He gave you creativity, create beauty. If He gave you strength, protect the weak. Your gift is not meant to glorify you, it's meant to glorify Him. And when you use it, you don't just change your world, you change the world. This life is short. Our days are numbered like grains of sand slipping through fingers. But eternity is forever. So live not for applause, but for purpose. Live not for comfort, but for calling. Live not to build your own kingdom, but to expand His. When you reach the end of your life, it won't matter how many possessions you owned, but how many people you loved. It won't matter how high you climbed, but how faithfully you walked. It won't matter how loud your name echoed on earth, but how your life echoed in heaven. The world will try to shake your confidence. Storms will come, critics will speak, fears will whisper. But remember this, courage is not the absence of fear, it's faith in motion. You don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. You just have to take the next step in faith. Abraham didn't know where he was going. Moses didn't think he could speak. David didn't look like a warrior. Mary didn't understand the miracle growing inside her, but they all said yes. And because of that yes, history changed. You don't need to see the whole path. Just trust the one who lights it. Rising isn't something you do once. It's something you do every morning. Every time you choose faith over doubt, you rise. Every time you forgive instead of hate, you rise. Every time you love when it's hard, you rise. You found your faith again. Now it's time to live, not half alive, not afraid, but fully awake, with fire in your heart and eternity in your eyes. God has written a story for you that no one else can tell. It's time to live it out loud, to walk in freedom, to love without fear, to shine without apology, because somewhere out there, someone is still searching for light when they'll find it through you. So rise, child of God. Rise from regret. Rise from fear. Rise from doubt. Step into the purpose prepared for you from the beginning of time. And when you do, heaven will whisper what it's been waiting to say all along. Well done, good and faithful servant. You lived the life you were born for.